Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for Wednesday, June 21st. It is a beautiful day in Wisconsin. We will get to the bummer news in a little bit. The COVID news, not good. Stick with us. We'll get to that. But first, we want to indulge and languish and wallow in the the victory of our beloved Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo with 50 points in the finale in Game 6 to bring the championship to Milwaukee. It was the first time that a major sport, NHL, Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA championship was decided in the city of Milwaukee. For Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Braves won the World Series in 1957, but they did it in New York. The Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA in 1971, but they did it in Baltimore over the Baltimore Bullets, which is no longer a thing. They moved to Washington, right? Became the Wizards. So it's the first time ever. It's only the third major sport championship for Milwaukee. It's the first time it's been decided in Milwaukee. We'd love to hear your comments, your reactions. If you're still glowing, you're still enjoying it. I watched it at home. I did not go to the Deer District. Deer District was outdoors, right? You're not supposed to be able to spread COVID outdoors as much, but boy, people were packed in and yelling and screaming. And Milwaukee County, we know Milwaukee County vaccination rates are lower than the rest of the state, or lower than Madison at least. So I'm a little concerned, but okay, it's probably going to be fine. But anyway, inside the building, tremendous game of basketball, almost a mirror image of Game 5, right, where the Bucks, the Suns got to a big lead in the first quarter, 16-point lead. The Bucks do a 19-point turnaround. They go into the halftime ahead by 3 and go on to win the game. Game 6, Phoenix starts out, or rather, the Bucks start out with a 13-point lead at the end of the first quarter. And the Suns turned that around in the second quarter, going to the halftime leading by 5. But they didn't win. Bucks came back and took charge. Giannis took complete control in the third quarter and took over. Now, there will be a parade tomorrow. We have details of the parade on our website. It's the kind of the top feature story right now because we just posted it a bit ago. It's going to start at 11 a.m. at the intersection of East Wisconsin and North Prospect. We'll go along North Wisconsin Avenue and then onto North Water Street and then onto East Knapp Street and then end at the Milwaukee River. Should be very cool. Again, it's outdoors, but still put a mask on. Still make sure you're vaccinated. We'll talk more about the COVID numbers in a little bit. But, man, I honestly never thought I'd see it. Milwaukee Bucks winning the title. Quite wonderful. And I'd love to just hear what you thought about it. A couple other news items we'll mention. There's a new fund, a new scholarship fund here in Madison to honor, and I want to make sure I get this name right. But this is a young lady who very tragically died in a car accident in Puerto Rico. Her name is Leslie Ann Jordan Vasquez, and her family has put together. She died a year ago yesterday. She was 23. And through the Madison Community Foundation, her family and friends established the Leslie Ann Kindness Fund, because that's what she was known for. And the first person to receive funding through this effort is Karen Perez-Wilson, who is the youth program coordinator at Briar Patch Youth Services. It's a very nice story. It's tragic. It's difficult, but it's a nice story, and it's on Madison365.org right now. Also, 2 new entries into the United States Senate race. This was yesterday. I got home yesterday. I went to this in Milwaukee. This is Mandela Barnes, Lieutenant Governor, announcing his run for the United States Senate, which has been widely expected among pundits nationwide. Right? He became kind of a national figure last year during the whole Black Lives Matter protest movement. He's been a very vocal and outspoken politician. And it's long been speculated, especially after Tony Evers said he was going to run again for governor, taking that off the table for Mandela. It was been speculated since then that he would run for Senate. So that was not a surprising announcement yesterday. about 100 people packed into the Sherman Phoenix facility there on Fond du Lac Avenue. I was going to stream it live, and that failed. They didn't have a good spot for my streamer camera. They really only had space for TV cameras, which are kind of different. No big deal. So I was going to come home and talk to you about it from here, from my home studio. And this entire part of Dane County had no internet access or cable or phone service. Apparently, a key cable got cut, so I was unable to do it live yesterday. But I'm letting you know today. That story is up on Madison365.org. There's a handful of folks from Madison who went over there. Ananda Murilli, Savian Castro from the school board, Francesco Hong from State Assembly. I talked to a couple of those folks about the race and about their support for Mandela Barnes. Slightly less expected, at least on a nationwide level, is the entry of Chantrell Lewis into the race. She is a Milwaukee alder. Let me get her story up here. Chantrell, I think I put an extra R in there. Chantrell Lewis is her name. She is a Milwaukee alder, and she has been that since 2016. And she's running on an economic development platform. She's an Air Force veteran, and she's a small business person as well. So she's jumping in. She is the 9th Democrat to announce a run. All but 2 are white. Only two, I should say, have statewide profile. Sarah Godlewski is the state treasurer. Mandela Barnes is lieutenant governor. The rest are Outagamie County Executive Tom Nelson, State Senator Chris Larson, some other folks, more local level. So it's a wide open campaign right now. 9 Democrats vying for the opportunity to go up against whoever the Republicans nominate. Ron Johnson, who's the incumbent Republican, has not declared whether he's running again or not. 5 years ago, he said he would only run for 2 terms. So that would indicate that he's not going to run again, but he now lately has kind of backed off that a little bit. So we will see. We'll see how that plays out. The primaries next August 2022, and the general election then November 8th. That is all the non-COVID news. Did I not have that photo up here? I'm going to just go back here. And I don't think I had the photo up, but this is Chantrell Lewis. And there's Mandela Barnes. Okay, so we will take a short break, and then we will get into the COVID, which is I'm not going to take too long with it because there's not a lot to dig into. But there's just some numbers that I don't like, that don't make me feel real good, and we will get into that in just a few minutes, right after this. All right. Here's the thing. We always want our positive test rate to be below 3.0%. Right? It's kind of the threshold. There's nothing magical about that number. It's just if you're below 3%, you have it under control. But we also never look at numbers in isolation. Right? We look for trends. Today, our positive test rate is 2.8%. That means of all the tests that have been run in the past 7 days, going back to last Wednesday, 2.8% have been positive. Good, you say. That's below 3.0. Terrific. Problem. That it was 2.5 yesterday. A week ago, it was 1.2. Sorry, 2 weeks ago, it was 1.2. A month ago, it was 0.7. There was a moment in May, May 16th, it was 2.8%. And we were all very happy about that because it was above 3. And then it came down to 2.8%, and then it kept going down. So at that point, we liked 2.8%, right? Because we like the trend. Right now, it's 2.8, but it's going up. I don't like that at all. Because if this continues, We'll be over 3 by the end of this week. Not great. Just for comparison, the state of Texas right now is over 11. At the peak, the very worst of it in November, this was 17% here in Wisconsin. Okay, so 17% is like complete crisis level. That's also when we had 60 deaths per day. It's also when we had 7,000 new cases per day. Okay, so we're not there yet, but heading upward when we're supposed to be getting over this thing is bad. And it's additionally bad. Let me throw you some other numbers, and then I'll tell you why, other reasons that I think this is bad beyond just the numbers. Yesterday, when I was unable to come to you because of my internet outage, we had 451 new cases. Today, we have 359 new cases. We haven't seen that number of new cases in months. A month ago, we were doing like 30 and 40 new cases. Last year at this time, it was most closer to like 600, 700. Let me see if I can actually more like 800, 900 a year ago at this time. So we're still lower than we were a year ago. We're higher than we were a month ago, and we're trending upward. That's the thing I don't like. Now, we haven't seen this manifest in deaths just yet. We're still at, there were 3 new confirmed deaths reported yesterday. That brings our average for 7 days to 1 death per day. 1 too many, right? But it's not 30, it's not 60. Deaths are a lagging indicator, though. Right? So we would expect, given the trends in the past, of 300 people who are getting a new positive diagnosis today, about 3 we'd expect to die from it, that's not great. So as long as those cases keep going up, deaths will go up in 3 or 4 weeks from now. We're now at 7,390 confirmed deaths. A couple reasons that I dislike all these numbers. First of all, Corey identifies this, that it's one of the main reasons this is happening right now is the lack of vaccination. Because here's the thing, Sheila disagrees. It's affecting vaccinated people too. It is not in the way that it is affecting unvaccinated people. That's just vaccinated people can and do test positive. Okay. And some of those positive cases we're seeing are probably vaccinated people. However, vaccinated people are not landing in the hospital. I don't have state statistics on this, but at a national level, like 99.5% of people in hospitals are unvaccinated. Well over 95% of people who die are unvaccinated. Okay. Also, I haven't seen anything that convinces me one way or the other whether or not a vaccinated person can spread the virus. Even though they can test positive, the data seem to indicate that for the most part, you can catch it if you're vaccinated, but you're not going to catch it enough to be able to spread it, right? Your body's going to shut it down before you spread it. The Delta variant might be different. It does seem that there's some indication, there's some worry at least, that the Delta variant comes in such a heavy load, meaning there's just more virus particles in your lungs and in your nose and your mouth, that it's possible for a vaccinated person to breathe it in and then breathe it out. Now, if more of us were vaccinated, that would be less of a problem, right? Because even if we had 70% vaccine right now, we could all be passing it among each other and it would be fine. Because none of us would go to the hospital. None of us would die from it because we're all vaccinated. We could literally, if we were all vaccinated, or even like 70 to 80% of us were vaccinated, it would affect us. So, Sheila, I hope you're still listening because this is important. If we had more people vaccinated, we could continue to pass it around to each other and it would be okay. Right now, that's not okay. Because if I'm vaccinated, I breathe a bunch of Delta in and breathe it out, as you say. If I breathe it in and breathe it out and pass it on to somebody who's unvaccinated, which half of the state is unvaccinated right now, my children are unvaccinated. I'm pointing toward them because they're downstairs. I know you can't. You don't know where I'm pointing at my children who are downstairs. My children are unvaccinated because they're under the age of 12. Right now, if I breathe in Delta and I breathe it out to my kids, they could get it. I could breathe it on somebody else who's unvaccinated, and they could get really sick and die. If I breathe it in on my wife who's vaccinated, we're both going to get a little bit sick. That's it, right? And it would stop there, right? It is about vaccine. On an individual basis, like I could catch it, I could breathe it onto somebody else who could also catch it, right? But we're talking at a population level. We're thinking large groups of people. We're thinking 5.8 million Wisconsinites. Half of them have no protection at all. Right? So, yes, you're right. Delta can be passed, is more likely to be passed among children, first of all, which the OG COVID was not as much. And it's more virulent, right? So it's not that it's immune to the vaccine or anything like that, but it is more likely to be spread. But at a population level, if we were all vaccinated, or 70% of us were vaccinated, if more of those unvaccinated people would get vaccinated, even that effect that you're talking about would be lessened. It would be less dangerous to the population and less dangerous to individuals who are vaccinated. It's not about blaming anybody. The facts of the case. If we had more people vaccinated, these numbers would not be doing what they're doing right now. Now, I will change my tune if 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, we do not see an increase in deaths. If COVID continues to spread, but is not dangerous, okay, fine. And that would be because younger people are getting it who are less vulnerable, and people who are vaccinated are getting it who are also less vulnerable. Right? That's what the vaccine can do. It makes you personally less vulnerable, so that if it's spreading, so if it's not as dangerous, then spread numbers. It's like, okay, so there's huge spread numbers for common cold, but it doesn't bother anybody. However, watch the death numbers. Watch the hospitalizations. Hospitalizations are up too, by the way. And it's younger people in the hospital. We currently in Wisconsin have 143 people in the hospital. That's not going to overburden the hospital system. That's not what we're talking about right now. What we're talking about is just kind of gauging the severity of the disease, right? There are 46 more people in the hospital today in Wisconsin than there were a week ago. That means the disease that they're catching is severe. Sheila, I'm not sure where you're getting information about 2 new variants of Delta. I haven't heard that. The vaccine is very highly effective at preventing disease, as Kathy says. It is nearly 100% effective at preventing hospitalization and death, which is really what you're after, right? Here's the other thing about vaccine is that if there's herd immunity, meaning 75 to 80% of us are vaccinated, the whatever virus is spreading around will die off kind of pretty quickly. It just won't spread as much. Like, it can spread a little bit, but it won't spread nearly as much. And therefore, it will have less of a chance to continue to cause more variants. Right? This is exactly, Gene is making the exact point that I was just about to say. Every time, this is just how genetics works, right? Evolution. Every time more virus produces more virus, there's a tiny chance for genetic changes, right? And so those genetic changes that create the variants. So if we just have less virus, like if just every time a virus replicates itself, there's a chance to create a new variant. So with more vaccine, there's less chance of that happening. And we won't get the epsilon virus or the theta or the whatever. I don't even know the Greek alphabet, right? Because delta is bad. Epsilon could be worse, right? So let's stop it at delta, shall we? Get vaccinated. If you can, right? There's a substantial portion of people in this state who have a real hard time doing it, who still think you have to go on, who don't have a clinic nearby, so they try to go online to get a CVS appointment or whatever, don't have broadband access, can't get it. Yeah, actually, Sheila, this is actually a good point. It's not that Delta has two strains, it's that we doctors, public health officials, and media we're actually tracking 4 different variants right now, not just Delta. One of the variants, I think the California variant, there is now an interest, not of concern, so we don't track that one as much, but UK, Brazil, and Delta, and there's one other I forget. But we'll get variant updates tomorrow. We get them every Thursday afternoon. So we are monitoring and watching at least 4 different variants right now. Delta is the big one right now. But whatever's next after Delta could be worse. And we have to get more people vaccinated to stop that from happening, right? There are states with less than 30% vaccination rates. There are whole continents with less than like 10%, like Africa just hasn't gotten access to the vaccine yet. They want it. They don't have access. We have access here. So if you don't have a major impediment, if you don't have a transportation problem, if you can get an appointment, if it's just inconvenient for you, do it. Get over it. Do it. Take the day off work. There are people who cannot take 2 days off of work to do 2 different shots. There are people who don't have transportation to a place that has shots. There are people who have language barriers. There are people who are just simply unaware of how to get a shot. Right? The state, and we are in on this, the state is working to get information into the hands of people. So that, for those people who cannot get it right away, the rest of us need to do our part to keep them safe, right? That's how communal living works. This is Wisconsin. We take care of each other. And one way I take care of you is by getting myself vaccinated. If we were right now, I can tell you exactly, 2.9 million, almost just under 3 million Wisconsin residents have received 1 shot. That does give you some protection. 2.8 million have completed the series. So that leaves, about 2 million people, 2.8 million people in Wisconsin who have not even gotten a first shot. A lot of those are children who are not eligible for the first shot. So how about we protect them? Right? How about you protect my children? Remember how this whole takes a village thing? Remember that? You, by getting vaccinated, protect my children from your Delta variant. Right? This is how community works. This is how society works. We take care of each other. Getting vaccinated, getting yourself vaccinated is your part of ending this thing. This thing would be, if we had made our goals and gotten to 70%, I would not be talking to you right now, probably. Like I would have come on and talked to you about the Bucks and about Mandela Barnes and Chantel Lewis, and then signed off because we would not have COVID to talk about. But we do, because only half of us are vaccinated. There's a lot of fertile ground for a vaccine to spread. So I'm going to get, because this is starting to turn, I'm going to start to talk. No, Sheila, I don't mean to argue with you, Sheila, but it doesn't mess with your RNA. It doesn't mess with your DNA. It gives you a tiny strand. It does not mess with your RNA. Okay. It gives you some RNA from the virus, and then so that your body then recognizes it, creates antibodies to fight it, and then it goes away. The vaccine leaves your body. It does not mess with your RNA. It does not mess with your DNA. By the way, Johnson & Johnson is not an mRNA vaccine. So if you prefer the more traditional type of vaccine, get the Johnson & Johnson. That's fine. That's actually better because it's only one shot. It's better for you, so it's more convenient. It's slightly less available in Wisconsin, but there's plenty. There's plenty to go around. Like you can get the Johnson & Johnson shot that is not an mRNA vaccine. Side effects are fatigue, aches, and a sore arm. That's it. There are side effects for everything. There are allergic reactions to everything. Like a lot of people are allergic to peanut butter. So if you're, if you have a blood clot or something, like 1 out of 1 million people get a blood clot, which now they know about, so they're watching for it. So, the only really dangerous side effect of Johnson & Johnson is that blood clot, and that, again, is 1 in 1 million. And they know about it now, so if it happens to you, they can take care of it. You take a blood thinner. That's it. And if you get COVID, there's about a 1% chance you will die. And there's almost 100% chance that you'll give COVID to somebody else. So let's talk about taking care of each other. Right? And again, back to the mRNA thing. It does not mess with your mRNA. It does not mess with your DNA. It gives you RNA from the virus, which then disappears from your body. So that when the real virus comes, your body recognizes the RNA of that virus and kills it off. That's how it works. It doesn't mess with your DNA at all. It doesn't even, the mRNA vaccine, the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, do not even enter the nucleus of your cells. They don't even like physically get close to your DNA. Okay. This is the truth. I'm telling you. I'm a journalist. I don't have I'm pro-health. I'm pro-community. But I'm also a journalist, so I'm pro-truth above all. Okay? Like literally my entire life, my livelihood is about truth. And I told you the truth in the spring of last year when things were looking bad. I told you the truth when things were very bad in November. I told you the truth when it was better in May and June of this year. I told you the truth that that it was okay to take our masks off. I told you the truth that vaccines were happening, that it's okay to be outdoors, that outdoors events are okay. I'm definitely not trying to panic you, and I'm not trying to promote any sort of agenda other than truth. Right? The Society of Professional Journalists lays out an ethical code for all of us. And the top of that, it's literally like there's this whole poster thing where they have their whole ethical code. And across the top of that poster is seek the truth and report it. And the truth is mRNA vaccines do not mess with the DNA. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine has some side effects that are very exceedingly rare, the dangerous ones, and it can be dealt with. And the truth is that 1% of people who contract COVID die. And about 20% land in the hospital, which is tremendously expensive, which can ruin you financially, depending on your health insurance situation. And in 2 to 3% of cases, there are significant long-term effects. Like your life could be really upended for a long time. And there's a reasonable chance. There's about right now, the RT, the rate of transmission, is about 1.2, which means there's about a 20% chance of you passing it on to somebody else, who also then has a 1% chance of dying. Right? So you have a 1 in a million chance of a blood clot, or about a 1 in 1,000 chance of killing someone. Like, that's truth. I would strongly consider talking to a doctor. Talk to an actual doctor, like your doctor that you trust. This is an excellent point, Gene. There are a lot of people who can get vaccinated, but what a vaccine does is it activates your immune system to fight the virus, right? It's not the drug that fights the virus for you. The drug simulates the virus, so that your body learns to fight the virus. If you're an immune compromised person, like you've had an organ transplant and are therefore on drugs that purposely suppress your immune system, or if you have lupus or any number of autoimmune disorders or immunocompromised disorders, you can get the vaccine, but it doesn't do anything for you. There are a whole bunch of other people who can't even get the vaccine. There are literally children who cannot get the vaccine. They talked about it like it was going to be September, so now they're talking about winter. So if you can get the vaccine, if it's merely inconvenient for you, and your health would, if you're a normal healthy person, there's no excuse for you not to get it, and you should get it to protect people like Gene's friend and Margie's friend who cannot get the vaccine, and like my children who cannot get the vaccine. Again, I'll say it again. Your getting the vaccine protects the rest of us. And I'll say it one more time. This is Wisconsin. I don't know where you guys grew up. I grew up in Wisconsin. I grew up right here in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin. I grew up 4 blocks from where I live right now. In the Wisconsin I grew up in, we take care of each other. That's why I got the vaccine the first chance I could. Yeah, it's nice to be vaccinated and not have to wear a mask inside. Now, lately, I'll be honest with you, I'm putting the mask back on, even though I'm vaccinated. It's nice to feel protected, though. It's nice to not be afraid. It's nice to go outside, or not outside, but to go inside, and feel like if I get virus right now from all these people out here, like I'll be okay, right? That feels really good after a year of kind of being scared all the time, right? Being vaccinated feels pretty good. But the reason I got it when I got it, the reason I jumped at the first opportunity, even though I'm like white privileged guy, like I've got all the privilege, right? White, male, cis, het, whatever. But the reason that I didn't feel selfish in jumping at my first opportunity to get a vaccine, because my getting the vaccine helps you. It helps Brenda's son. It helps Gene's friend. It helps Margie's friend. It helps my children. It's not for me. It's not for you. It's for all of us. Okay? Sheila and others who are skeptical, don't just take my word for it, though. I mean, understand that you can trust me. Understand that I do this show every day because you trust me. Literally, truth is what I do. It's my job. But you don't have to take my word for it, right? Because you will find if you go to actual, not Facebook, Twitter, Goop, or whatever the hell, if you go to your actual doctor, chances are they'll confirm what I'm telling you, right? And if you hear the same thing again from experts, not people with agendas, but people who know what they're talking about, and you hear that same thing over and over again, you can probably trust that thing. Okay, so I don't mean to lecture anybody. I hope, Sheila, I hope you're still listening. Because I get it. And there are lots of other legit reasons to be kind of concerned about a vaccine, especially if you're Black and you have no good reason to trust the American healthcare system. Right? I get that completely. So I don't want to discard that. I don't want to discount legitimate fears. But Sheila, all those fears that you mentioned are easily debunked. And easily things that I get that you see things online, you see information from people you think you trust, and you get nervous and you don't want to do it and whatever. But the right thing to do for everybody is to get the vaccine so we can end this thing. Like I don't want to come out here and talk to you about this anymore. I'm sick of it. And for a minute there, it felt like we were doing okay. It felt like we were, when we were doing 30 new cases a day, positive test rate 0.7%, felt like we were winning. And I was so excited. I was so done with it. I didn't want to do this anymore. Nobody wants to do this anymore. And the only way to get past it is to get all of us vaccinated. And then we got to wait and get the rest of the world vaccinated. By the way, pandemic means worldwide. So even achieving herd immunity in Wisconsin doesn't end the thing. Makes Wisconsin a hell of a lot easier to live in. But, it's going to be a couple years, at least. But we can take care of what we can take care of here. We can take care of each other. We can take care of each other by getting vaccinated ourselves. Okay? End of rant, end of lecture. I appreciate you appreciate you sticking with me. I'm trying to think if there's any other. I think I got all the stats in there in that rant at one point or another. I'm going to keep telling you about this stuff. I'm going to keep telling you the stats as they come in. I'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, this is interesting. There were supply issues to me. Everybody who wanted to get vaccinated got done right away. Like everybody was clamoring. Like when am I eligible? When can I be eligible? When can I get it? And a certain amount of people got it, and that's it. There's a whole other bunch of people who haven't. And there are some people who are like foursquare against it for whatever reason. And then I think there's a lot of other people who are just like, I'll get around to it. Yeah, I know I should get it. Okay, I'll get it. Fine, whatever. But just never get around to it. That's what I'm talking to also. Right? Get over yourself. Do it. Sorry. Okay. That's all. I don't mean to preach. Don't mean to lecture. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'll be back tomorrow for my daily rant about vaccinations. Until then, take care of yourself. Have a wonderful evening. And we'll see you again tomorrow.
This is 365 Media.